Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun deep in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. And today, my friends, we are talking about betrayal. The word betrayed came up quite a bit in the testimony today. Proud Boys trial, day 38. And it's a very interesting exchange because we're seeing a new tactic here. Seems like the Proud Boys and maybe even the defense attorneys are pointing the fingers back over at El Trumpo. We'll take a look at this because a bunch of new Telegram messages and additional text messages and different chats from the Proud Boys all got admitted today, courtesy of a new witness called Peter Dubrowski. And so we'll talk about that, a new FBI agent. Yesterday, when we were taking a look at the case, the docket had in store for us updates about what took place. I want to just briefly go over the minute entry. You can see here, not a lot from the court record. We do have several. That's basically the exact same thing that we saw yesterday. Now, the witness yesterday was Special Agent Nicole Miller, but her testimony concluded yesterday. So we were done with her, and we started back up today with a brand new FBI agent, Mr. Dubrowski. And so we're going to jump right into it after we refresh our recollection about who the parties are in this case. Remember, Ethan Nordine is co-defendant number one. He's represented by David Smith. We've got Joseph Biggs. His two attorneys are Norm Pattis and J. Daniel Hull. I think we're going to hear from Norm today. We also have Zachary Reel. His defense attorney is Carmen Hernandez. Heard a lot from her. She was the woman yesterday with her hand up that the judge wouldn't call on. Enrique Tarrio, sort of the media appointed, maybe self-appointed or group appointed leader of the Proud Boys. And he wasn't even there on January 6th, but he's being charged with conspiracy. His two lawyers are Sabino and Naib. And then we've got our final co-defendant, number 5, Dominic Pizzola. Arguably the most troubling conduct or the most criminal conduct because there was some video of him breaking the window. But what every one of these co-defendants is doing, what their lawyers, this guy's Roger Roots and Stephen Allen Metcalf, we heard a lot from them yesterday, they're trying to take these co-defendants and separate them out from one another. You know, each one of these things is not like the others. Each one of these co-defendants just doesn't belong here, and we need to exclude them from this entire analysis. So that's been going on today. And the prosecution, we heard a little bit from them yesterday. They did a redirect exam of FBI agent Nicole, but since it's their witness today, they're going to be the people who start us off. And then we're going to go turn our attention back over to the criminal defense attorneys, each of whom is going to take their time doing their cross-examination. So the government will present this new FBI agent. Then each defense attorney will take their turns. We have Jason McCullough is a prosecutor along with Eric Michael Kennerson. We have Connor Mulrow, and then we have Nadia Moore, who are all representing the U.S. government. Of course, we're going to turn our attention over to our friend Roger Parloff, who is very, very generously live tweeting the entire trial. And so I would encourage you to go and follow him. I honestly don't know how he has the attention span to sit there for 38 days. And he has over 200 tweets that we're going to go through today. Okay. So it's just out of control. Shout out to Roger Parloff for making this all possible. If you're not already following him, please do that. And so without any further ado, my friends, let's get right into it. March 16th, day 38, Proud Boys trial. Roger Parloff is going to be live tweeting it, and he is expecting Peter Dubrowski. He's going to be the new FBI agent. FBI Peter, we'll call him, who's going to be back in court today. He was already testifying previously. We're thinking that that might be the last, like this could be the last witness, or it could be the next to the last witness for the government's case. And we know that they're at least, if the government doesn't finish by this week, in other words, by tomorrow, Friday, we know that the defense is going to present at least one witness on Monday, somebody who has a scheduling problem, and so he can only testify on Monday. So he'll come in and testify. Or maybe it's just the defense case in chief, right? Starts on Monday. We'll see what the trial has in store for us. But Roger gives us some background here. He says, all right, look, this FBI agent, he's already been here before. In fact, he was used previously to introduce defendant Telegram post. All right. So we had FBI Nicole, who was the Where's Waldo expert. This guy is the chat expert. So he's not circling faces in crowds like she was. Now he's doing, searches. Oh yeah, I wonder what he's a translator or something, translating their coded insurrectionary language. So he is introducing these Telegram posts, and we're going to see a lot of that here today, and go through a lot of the internal text. But this time he's going to present even more, including videos, but posted on or after J6. All right. So we're sort of expanding the hula hoop on or after J6. Yesterday, we covered that thread in detail. Now, Roger says that Miller was a pretty impressive witness because, well, she was able to overcome a lot of the hurdles. Remember that FBI agent Nicole Miller sent over a file to the defense, and in that defense, it was supposed to be a couple rows of her testimony, documents that she relied on to testify. And we covered this here at length, but many of those rows were hidden. About 1,000 or more rows were hidden. And when the defense unhid those, they found all sorts of very curious language in there about, deleting evidence, and about snooping on attorney-client privileged emails, and about all sorts of other things, like feeling like idiots for not being able to meet the threshold of a conspiracy charge, which they were doubting for a long time. Well, can we do this without looking like idiots? Can we charge them with conspiracy? We really have nothing here, but can we do it? So that was sort of the problem with the testimony from FBI Nicole Miller. But the judge really cleared a lot of that up, said, oh, you know what? It's not a big deal. Those deleted documents, they were an old case. Oh, those deleted records, well, you didn't need those anyways. Those are classified, or those are FBI sensitive material, or whatever. They just made up a bunch of stuff. And then the judge is like, that sounds great. Whatever it takes to make sure that this moves forward, or whatever. So that all got done. Here, there was a little bit of a surprise from FBI agent Nicole. On cross, she surprised the defense, and likely the government too. They weren't expecting this either, by testifying about the metadata that Enrique Tarrio, the leader of the Proud Boys, was on his phone, saying she just noted this. And we talked a lot about that yesterday. There was a question about this document called the 1776 returns document. This was sort of this document that was a plan, looked like a plan. It looked actually to me like some people were LARPing around and just, role playing. It was kind of a weird deal. But anyways, the document is there, and they used this document to turn one of the Proud Boys against the other Proud Boys. His name was Jeremy Bertino. And there were questions about whether Enrique Tarrio actually opened this document or was the author of this document. And the FBI, when they were turning the other Proud Boy, they said that, yeah, this was in fact a document drafted by Enrique Tarrio. Turns out that wasn't true. There's questions about whether he even opened it or not. So the FBI is telling these other Proud Boys, he wrote it, he was going to lead the whole thing. And they said, I can't believe that. I don't want to be a part of it. And so they turned around and essentially, flipped on him, and then were useful to the government against the Proud Boys to make this case. But the justification provided to Bertino to justify his flip was fake, is the argument. So on the cover page, the document alludes to this concept called Storm the Winter Palace. And if you want to go read the full document, go over and follow Roger Parloff. You see most of it here. They had a Storm of the Winter Palace. They had a Patriot plan. And anybody can draft a document up and spread it around. And the government at this moment is trying to make every single Proud Boy responsible for the contents of this document. And so they're trying to prove a connection. And yesterday there was a big debate about whether Enrique Tarrio actually even opened the document at all. So here, there were a couple cryptic messages or references that Enrique Tarrio sent that referenced the Winter Palace. Here were some of the texts. Said something like 1776 MFR, the Winter Palace, right? These are all from a text message from Tarrio and Jeremy Bertino. The problem here is Enrique Tarrio is a Proud Boy. Jeremy Bertino was also. They flipped Jeremy Bertino after the fact. And so this is a text message from before that. Brother, we made this happen. Says, I'm so proud of my country today. I know. I love you, brother. We did it. Love you too. I'm in tears, bro. This is it. 1776 MFR, the Winter Palace, says Enrique Tarrio. So they're saying to him, oh my goodness, that this is evidence that he read the document because he knew something that was inside the document. Dude, do we just influence history? Enrique says, let's see how this plays out. They have to certify today or it's invalid, says Jeremy Bertino. Okay, so they're still talking about that event. Now, Roger says, well, truth be told, the 1776 document says it's not really an important part of the case in his opinion. But the defense made it a big part of their case. And we debated a lot about that. So we'll fast forward through all of that. And then we see today, day 38, Judge Kelly is on the bench. All rise. Please be seated. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, back in the jury. Okay, here today. Who's the first witness? Mr. Prosecutor? And Roger for the defense. Roger is representing Pizzola. And let's make sure we sort of understand who is representing whom here. So Roger Roots is this guy. He's a libertarian, former libertarian candidate from Montana. And he is chiming in. He says, hey, Judge, before we get started, jury's in the room here. Can we hop on something here? They hop on the phone for a sidebar. Don't know what they talk about, but then the case proceeds. Prosecutor Connor Mulrow. Yeah, we're prepared, Your Honor. The government recalls FBI Special Agent Peter Dubrowski. And the jurors are like, oh, yeah, we remember that guy. Oh, yeah, he's coming back. Oh, okay. So Hernandez says, Judge, I just want to make a quick objection. The prosecutor's moving out her easel or her whiteboard or whatever. And she says, Judge, just to make sure that when he was out here last time, there were sticky notes on that board, and there are no sticky notes on that board now. Just want to make note of that. Okay. They're manipulating their demonstrative evidence. And so the judge says, okay, whatever, Carmen, put your hand back down. So then the attorney for the prosecution says, all right, agent, welcome back. Hope you had a nice break. It's good to be back here, he says. I want to turn back to the day of January 6th. We stopped last time about midnight around January 5th and January 6th. Is that correct? Yes, that's right. I want to start back up on January 6th then. And so you see before you hear this long list of exhibits, you recognize this. And so she's going through all of the telegrams, all of the videos. She's just got, oh gosh, she's got this binder full of stuff, and we're just going to have to listen to them present all of this evidence. Oh, great. Let's see what it looks like. So the Hernandez referenced 2 tweets ago was, of course, Carmen Hernandez. And then we go back over to Mulrow. All right, so I don't know what that was. Not kind of a non sequitur there, but here we go. Mulrow. So prosecutor says, all right, I want to start with late afternoon or sort of early evening of January 6th. Now, we're in a group chat. It's called J6 Boots on the Ground. Is that correct, FBI agent? He says, yeah, that's what I see there. Can you tell me what this reads here? He says, yeah. He says, defendant Zachary Real says, can't get back into the area? Question mark. Makes sense. We all did literally take the Capitol building out. LOL. He said, this was not what I expected to happen today. All from us showing up and starting some chants and getting the normies riled up. So that's Zachary Real, who is talking in the chat. That is this gentleman here. And they've got his messages that they're sharing. Now, FBI agent, can you tell me a little bit about their structure? How did the Proud Boys organize themselves? Well, they had what's called an MOSD chat. It was a Ministry of Self-Defense chat. They had it divided into different marketing teams. So we had Tario, Noreen, and Biggs. We were on the marketing team. They were out there marketing. Then we had the ops team. That was John Stewart, Zachary Real, and third. Then we had the regional leaders. That's sort of their structure. Okay, thank you for that. And do you recognize this thing? Yeah, what is that? Oh, that is the MOSD members chat. Oh, great. Well, what does it say there? Can you read that for us? Yeah, he said that somebody named Michael Priest said that, hey, Tario, we need to speak. Tario says, okay, MFers, proud of y'all, but we're going to be the F-dolls of the government for a little. Uh-oh, we got some profanity in the text here. When you're reading profanity, make sure you cover your eyes when you're reading so you don't see it, okay? So just, almost like a bleep, just use your hands when you're reading. So Bertino, who was the person who flipped on the Proud Boys, says the decision not to wear the colors was one of the best organizational decisions ever made. And so Tario says back to him, hey, let's chill. So then he says, okay, thanks for reading that. What is this one here? Do you recognize this? Yeah, that is the main channel for the chat. Okay, what does that say? He says, yeah, this is from co-defendant Zachary Real. He says, I'm proud as F what we accomplished yesterday, but we need to start planning for a Biden presidency. And the prosecutor says, okay, well, did you see any messages in anything you reviewed where Enrique Tario expressed disapproval of what had happened on J6? Did you see anything about disapproval? No, I didn't. I looked at a lot of them. Did you see any messages where defendant Zach Real expressed disapproval? of what happened on January 6th? And Norm Pattis, who's not even Zach's lawyer, that's Carmen. Norm says, objection. And he's representing Joe Biggs. They have a sidebar. Don't know what they talk about, but we come back. Prosecutor says, okay, FBI agent Peter, did you find any messages where Real expressed disapproval of what the members did? No, I didn't. How about Ethan Nordine? Did he disapprove? No. Defendant Biggs? Did he disapprove? No. And how about Pizzola? No. And now I want to turn over to the quote official president's chat. What day is this from? This is from January 7th. And can you tell me what that entry says at 3:12 a.m.? He says, yeah, Enrique Tarrio said, well, we made some noise today. And I want to focus on Tarrio. He said that. Did you also get his social media statements? Yes, I did. I got his Parler statements. And when did those come from? January 6th. And what did he post at about 11:14 p.m.? Oh, he posted a video called a premonition video. And here is one of the videos that looks like this. In fact, looks like somebody standing in front of the Capitol. And that's the video. Premonition. They're showing this one in court. And this one looks like it was posted at 11:14 p.m. I'm guessing on January 6th. This date is a little bit off. So it's on a web archive. I don't know exactly what date it was. But that's the image. It's just a loop of 19 seconds. They say, okay, we're still on January 7th. Is that right? Yes. And what did Enrique Tarrio say here? Tarrio sent a message. He said, all right, the pressure from the media, the communist left, they're going to come down on you. Never apologize. You are the resistance. You are precious. And what did he say on January 9th? Tarrio said, Biden isn't preaching unity. He's preaching acceleration and gulags. His war was never on Trump. His war was always about us. As crazy as the 6 was, it shows don't effing tread on us. And is that post still up there, Agent, from January 9th? He says, no, that post was later deleted. And did you see anything else from Tarrio on January 9th, a couple days after? Yeah, Tarrio posted on the 9th. He said, I'm not denouncing anything. I'm done giving concessions. Not a single ounce of virtue signaling will be shown. Denounce this D, he said. And did he say anything on January 11th, Agent Peter? Yeah, well, this one is from the president's chat. Co-defendant Nordine, sitting over there at the table, said to the rest of the group in the president's chat, said, I might get arrested when I land, but I regret nothing. How about Joe Biggs? He's also seated over there. Did he say anything? FBI agent says, well, the FBI never got its hands on Biggs's phone, but it got his Google Cloud backup account, and we located a podcast save there. Civil War was the name of the podcast. Uh-oh. Well, what was that podcast? He said, well, it's over an hour. It's between him and another individual. And did you take clips from that podcast? Yes, we did. And do you recognize this clip? And they're about to start playing it. And Carmen Hernandez, who is representing Zachary Real, this woman here, who we enjoy, she's doing a great job. And she's very, very fired up. We can tell even through the text here. She's now objecting. She says, Judge, I object to Hernandez objections. So it's not looking good. Hernandez yesterday, just to catch you up if you missed that, she was raising her hand for 10 minutes back there. Okay, so she's been very vocal, rightfully so, because this has been one of the most insane, ridiculous, egregious cases. However, the judge said, well, you can put your hand down now. And she said, it's been up for 10 minutes. Can I speak? He said, you've already spoken enough. So he shuts her up. And then today, she objects right out of the gates. They're going to play all these videos. She's objection. You can't play those videos. They're totally irrelevant to my client. And then the prosecutor says, oh, Carmen, you're objecting to me? Watch this. Judge, I object to her. And the judge is like, oh, gosh, what planet am I on? So then another defense attorney called Pattis, who's representing Biggs, That's Norm, this guy here. He jumps in and he says, Judge, I object to Moreau's objection to Hernandez's objections. I don't even know where we are at this point. I don't know what's happening. It's like the inception of objections. So just so we're clear, Hernandez objects, defense objects, prosecutor objects to the defense's objection, and then a defense objects to the prosecutor's objection about the defense's objection. Just so we're all straight on this. So the judge says, all right, you guys are out of control. We need to have a sidebar on this issue. So they pick up the phones and he said, what did you just say to me? So they play it out and he says, I don't know what you're objecting about, but guess what? The Civil War videos are coming in. And there would have been objections about relevance, and it's a podcast days after the fact. What is this having to do with anything about our clients did on J6? And prosecutor says, oh, it's about the conspiracy and they're not remorseful and it's all relevant to show state of mind. And the judge says, all right, it's coming in because everything else that's been bad for the defense is also coming in. So the Civil War clips start, right? These are the clips from the podcast. He can't hear the audio. We can't see or hear it. But apparently Biggs is wearing a shirt that says F something and U in the F is yellow, Proud Boys. So behind Biggs is a patch that says liberty or death. He's also got a patch that says don't tread on me, but we can't hear anything. Now there's a third Civil War clip. Looks like they're in a man cave. They're heavily tattooed, forearms and a beard. Clearly insurrectionary behavior going on in these clips. We can't hear it, but looks troubling. Probably building Lego sets to take over the Capitol or something in there. So now we have a third Civil War clip, now a fourth clip, making references to the Founding Fathers. I can see a t-shirt that says F Antifa. Now a fifth clip. Now the fifth clip, it does play. And there's a phrase that is in there called stand up. And they say, Mr. Biggs, he said something called stand up. Did you hear that, FBI Peter? Yeah, I did. Could that be figurative? Not like stand up, like out of a chair, but stand up, to insurrect America. Could it be figurative? And he says, yeah, it could. So then they play a sixth clip. Now they play a seventh clip. Now that phrase again is in there, that time to stand up phrase. Is that the same phrase that he used earlier, FBI Agent Peter? He says, yeah, it is. Now, I want to turn over to another person here. I want to talk about Zachary Real today. Now, on January 6th, did Zachary Real send a text message? Who was that sent to? He says that's to mom. At 7:52, what did he say? This is a text from mom. Mom sends a message, says, you okay, sweetheart? Shout out to all the moms out there. We love you. Shout out to all the good moms out there. Mom sends a text, 7:52. You okay, sweetheart? I'm okay. Seems like our raid of the Capitol set off a chain reaction of events throughout the country. I'm so effing proud, he tells mom. So now Parler is another post, right? They're scouring these guys' photos. What is this here, FBI Peter? Well, that's a Parler post. It looks like it's a photo of the Washington Monument. When did that come out? About 6 p.m. What did that say? He said that this is what Mr. Real posted. He said he posted, this is what patriotism looks like. Keep up the fight, America. When the government fears its people, you have freedom. When people fear the government, you have tyranny. Later deleted, right? So they're all probably after the fact starting to get a little bit panicky about where this is going, recognizing that they are going to be made the scapegoat of the entire operation. And so they start deleting their messages. But there is some wisdom in their statements. Now, Roger Parloff says that there was another Parler post here, says that Real says some idiot thinks today wasn't historical. Shut up, child. Seriously, stop being an idiot. Then he posts a video of the breach at the Peace Circle. Now, the prosecutor is still reading or still asking this agent to read. He says, it all started over a USA chant. I love this country. The silent majority is no longer silent. And so they're going to be using that to imply, that he's an insurrectionist. So there's another chat. FBI agent Peter, can you tell us about this one? Well, that was posted on January 7th, about 3:38 a.m. Can you read that for us? He says this came from Real. Says, you guys might like this. It's how it all started. And then he links to the Parlor video. He says, this is my video. There's another message in the Boots in the Ground chat. So Zachary Real is now sharing this video around in another chat. He takes the same video, posts it. Hey, this started a lot of the stuff. They're chatting. Government says, any reactions expressed anything that were less than celebratory about after J6? Yeah, there were some. Some people wished J6 had gone further. And the prosecutors scripting this whole thing, right? I mean, this is well scripted. They have the whole, they basically just read from a script, literally. And every one of these is orchestrated to be a mic drop moment, right? It's almost like rehearse. You can't even, they're playing patty cake with each other. This is why we make so much fun of prosecutors, because this is what they do. But it's like a patty cake game. I mean, every tweet is like a mic drop, right? And he's just walking him through it one after another. It's the most boring, just being a prosecutor, hilarious. So anyways, you have, this continues. Now, the J6 new chat, they have a new MOSD chat. Can you read that one for us, Agent Peter? He says that, yeah, Bertino wrote this. He said, Bertino said, we failed. The House is meeting again. That woman died for nothing. Don't know if he's talking about Boyland or Babbitt, but that woman died for nothing. He says that Real responded, I was hoping to have some celebratory beers after this epic effing day. Now, Biggs responds, says, this day lives in infamy for the ages. Donahoe says, I feel like a complete warrior. Donahoe says, I stood on the front line the entire time and pushed it twice. Thank God we were not wearing colors. Now, the new MOSD chat has another couple messages in it. This one, January 7th, 9:22 a.m. Agent Peter, what does that say? And he says that somebody named Stewart said the following, don't think there ever really was a plan. Bertino says, LMFAO, not enough people. That's actually a good thing for the Proud Boys. Honestly, that's a really good statement, because there wasn't ever a plan. They're trying to prove that these guys were involved in a seditious conspiracy, literally, to throw water bottles and to insurrect America. All 5 of them. Wow. And most of them had friends who were confidential human sources for the FBI. In fact, Enrique Tarrio got picked up by Lizardo, who literally was a confidential human source from jail. The FBI's confidential human source went and picked up Enrique Tarrio from jail and brought him to Baltimore on January 5th. So you get the point. Now, the point is here. Don't ever think there really was a plan. Of course not. They just needed a scapegoat. Proud Boys fit the bill. Bertino says, LMFAO, not enough people. So Stewart continues on. He says, the normies, they stopped 25% of the way in. That effing building should be occupied right now. They're looking for someone to save them still. They want us to do it for them. The Proud Boys can't bear this burden. It's too big for us alone. Bertino says, everything you said times 1,000, right? So they wanted it to be more protesty, I suppose. And it's an interesting point, because it really wasn't that big of a deal, which is the point that we've been making here for a long time. The vast majority of the crimes were criminal trespass crimes, which was parading around the Capitol, essentially. Not even a big deal. And if you just run the numbers on this thing, let's say you have 100,000 people who are in attendance, less than 1,000 crimes, or give or take, I think they're going to have about 1,000 right now. Of those 1,000, about 350 less than that are actually the violent crimes. So from 100,000 people whittled down to 350 violent crimes. And we know here that some of these violent crimes, don't know what percentage of those, involve at least water bottles, because that's the violent crime that the Proud Boys got charged with. At least one count was one of those water bottles. So this carries on, and I actually think this supports the defense's arguments. There really was no plan. And in fact, nobody was involved in this giant insurrection. It was a riot, essentially, is what this is reading like. Now, the worst part of yesterday, this was in the president's chat, was the failure of normie comms to follow through. Yep, they had no plan, says apparently Tarrio. God didn't put me there for a reason. We would still be there. They had no plan. There was no plan. So the MOSD members, they turn their attention back to another chat. They say, okay, agent, can you tell us about this one? He says, yeah, this is from the MOSD members chat. Bertino's in there. And again, Bertino is the one who flipped. Says, I'm going to do a live stream tonight. Someone else says, I think we've arrived at a major fork in the road. It's either escalate or try something else. If we go full 1776, people are going to die. And we don't know who said that. I mean, was that a CHS? Someone. I don't know who that is. Bertino says exactly what I'm thinking. Now they go over to another Parler post. Apparently, Joe Biggs posted this. Said, rest in peace, America, 1776 to 2021. And what was going on at about 8:22 FBI, Peter? Well, he said that at about 8:22, the Senate had just been called back into session, and then this was posted. Right, because they were back in literally voting for the presidency that night. The Congress people were sent back or going back about 7:13. Capitol building declared secured at 8 p.m. Vote happened that night. Not the crime of the century, despite their biggest efforts to persuade you otherwise. Now, they had another chat called Boots on the Ground. Somebody said this on January 7th. Don't post any video here. Feds are going to be looking everywhere. We are now domestic terrorists. Said that the FBI's digital media team is currently hunting down U.S. Capitol protesters. And Real says sarcastically, great news. Maybe. Everyone should have held the Capitol. This is out of control. It's like a setup or a cop-out. I don't like it. Another chat. Zachary Real says to the rest of the Proud Boys, Trump basically conceded. We lost our country. We should have held the Capitol. Once Pence turned his back, he was effed, but was hoping we all sent a message yesterday. He says, looking back, it sucked. Should have held the Capitol. He said, the reason why it feels like a waste is that instead of these politicians getting scared, they're all turning on Trump and cucking. Everybody should have showed up armed and took the country back the right way. And they didn't. They weren't armed. So it was a little bit disorganized, wasn't it? Now, Zach posted this on January 8th. Looks like it's a link to a tweet. Carmen Hernandez objects. She's raising her hand again. Objection! So there's a conversation about it. And then the judge says that the prosecutor can't get it to work. And this is because Hernandez actually won that argument. She said, wait, he can't describe the tweet. Put the tweet up. Don't tell him to describe it. Put it up there. Let's see it. So they get it up. The tweet is the account of Evan McMurray. It says, breaking. Representative Governor Larry Hogan says, no question America would be better off if Trump resigned. There's also a video of Hogan speaking, but I can't hear it. Saying that these cops, they turned on us. They are called turncoats. And Zach later deleted that tweet. So then there's another group text. You can see a lot of text here. Zach has a group text. This one came from January 6th. It says that Damon says laughed at, right? He hit the laugh response emoji. He says, we all got maced. Cops paid for that mistake. FBI agent, can you explain to me, why was Damon laughing? He says, well, that text was later deleted. All right. Let's go over to defendant Nordine. Now, did he post anything on Parler? Yeah, he did. He posted something on January 8th. What was that? It was a picture where he called himself a violent extremist. And then there's a photo of an officer spraying a protester. What is that about? And on the Twitter post, he says, if you feel bad for the police, you're part of the problem. Back the black and yellow. Agent, what does that mean? What do you see here? He says, well, the photo that you see here is of an officer spraying the protester. It has been altered. Okay, this photo that Nordine sent makes it look like the officer is grinning as he's spraying the protesters, right? This is one of those memes where you see the officer pepper spraying the people in the crowd. But the original photo came from the French press. It shows that there is no grin, right? The cop isn't actually laughing. So I guess the cop is actually spraying the person in the face, but not laughing about it. That's what they're upset about. So the prosecutor says, okay, FBI agent, do you know, did Nordine, did he alter that photo? And he says, no, we don't have any specific evidence of that. There's sharing a link to YouTube. And of course, Trump went out and published those videos. Trump said, I deplore violence, go home in peace, go home in love. Remember that video? So they shared that. It was a YouTube video. And Nordine, one of the Proud Boys, responds, ugh, nothing burger. No excuse for violence ever? Nah, I'm good, he says. Now we have a Nordine video that was extracted from his phone. Now it's a selfie video. Nordine is simulating a gag in response to Trump's speech, right? So Trump posted the video. They're going, ah, gross. Skull and Bones. Nordine says, effing disgusting. I'm so pissed right now because they're watching this Trump video. What a load of crap this whole thing has been. He says, F Trump, F that dude. I don't feel like we even made a dent. We truly believed in that dude. Some guys in jail because they followed him. Disgusted I had such loyalty to Trump and I lost everything for it. Nordine, another defendant, says F Trump, F him more than Biden. Followed the guy for 4 years and given everything and lost it all. He pardoned a bunch of degenerates and left us on the battlefield, bloody and alone. Prosecutor says, thanks for reading that, FBI agent. Now, did Trump have the power to pardon those people? Didn't it just end on that day? And the judge sustains the objections and we move on. Okay, FBI agent. Well, what's going on in this chat? He says, well, Nordine posted a message. Nordine said, Heath is sowing tons of doubts into this club at a time when we need to be strong and smart. Our lives are being destroyed due to inaction and government control. On January 13th, somebody named Philip said, okay, announce a ban on rallies for 3 months. Tario says, good idea. I'll type it up tomorrow. A full-blown ban, says Nordine, would send a message that we're scared. We need to show boldness. He disagrees with them. A ban? No. Let's keep going. Another chat, Scully and Bones. An anonymous member says, the fact is that rally boys hurt every member and put every member of this club at risk. It's disgusting. Nordine says, you want to be in a club where we do nothing? Is that proud? Question mark. Read our manifesto. This club has never not been active in a fight to preserve our Western values. I have 0 Fs to give to you. We basically have a small army at our disposal, he says, and other small armies that will follow us. The reputation we've built is priceless. We banked on Trump to do our bidding, and he effing didn't follow through. I'm proud of all we are. Prosecutor says, thank you, FBI agent Peter. Now I'd like to talk about the law enforcement response. Judge says, all right, hang on a minute. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Attorneys, hang tight. The jurors get up, they leave the room. And we fast forward through that. And we're back already. The 10 minutes was, wow. Judge Kelly's back on the bench. Prosecutor Mulrow resumes direct of Agent Dubrowski. Well, prosecutor says, I want to ask you about Enrique Tarrio. On one of his chats, he references being F-dolls of the government. And I'm wondering if all of this profanity is being dropped in court, just like openly. Is the prosecutor saying F-dolls openly? Probably, because you'll get a lot more visceral reaction from the jurors. But as you can see, a lot of profanity here. So Nordine's references to the people is referencing people going to jail. That's why he's talking about F-dolls. Is that what he's talking about? Yeah, people going to jail. What's going on in this other chat? Looks like it's a new chat. Somebody named Woken responds, they got Nick Ox. He was a Hawaii Proud Boy, and he was an elder. Aaron said, need this echoed. So Tario then removes Nick Ox from the chat. Says, uh-oh, he got picked up by the feds, going to remove him from safety. Enrique Tarrio doesn't realize that he got picked up literally by the feds from jail because one of their confidential human sources called Lizardo was the guy to do it. So on January 8th, then Tarrio, which is weird. I mean, if the feds knew everything, if they had CHSs all over the place, including picking up Tarrio on J5, how did the Proud Boys get so far along with their insurrection if the FBI knew exactly what they were doing, or should have, because they had CHSs in there? Curious. I don't know. So on January 8th, Tarrio posts the give, send, go for Nick Ox, which is a great time to say shout out to our friend Nick Rekieta, who's also has a very valid give, send, go. It's could use your support as well. But on January 9th, Tarrio, our friend, he says, our friend is a vet, a former Fox employee, arrested for covering the Stop the Steal. Please help out in any way you can. And shares the give, send, go. So now they're showing another conversation. So Nick Ox says, greeting elders. Hey, so who's going to this DC thing? All of us? G.I. Joe Biggs. I think that is about it, says Enrique. They're talking about deleting chats. So they're deleting a bunch of messages. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff we don't need anyone to see in there. What happened on January 13th, Agent? Well, they're talking about nuking this chat, about deleting everything. On January 11th, there's a Skull and Bones chat where the elders reside. Enrique Tarrio sends a message. He says, hey, Nordine, they're coming for you. Nordine says, thanks for the confidence boost there, Enrique. Appreciate that. Enrique says, that's what I'm here for. A lot of brotherly love going on. So then at 2:13, Tarrio posts a link to a tweet. Just in, DOJ announced conspiracy charges against the two Proud Boys. That was on January 30th. Somebody else responds, will Biggs be next? Tarrio says, I don't know. In Spazzo, it could be Pizzola. It could be Pepe's case. They had a lot. Those were the two that were charged. January 31st, Tarrio says, last night news broke that I've been indicted for conspiracy. Here's the name of my lawyer. Do not forward. Enrique says, I'm a Proud Boy for life, boss, and I'm with you 100%. That took place January 31st. A few more days go by. February 3rd, we have now direct text messages. Donahoe is communicating with Bertino. Donahoe has not been charged in this case. Bertino pled guilty, and then is working with the government against the Proud Boys. So Bertino sends this message: remove Nordine from mod ASAP. MOSD, the Ministry of Self-Defense chat ASAP. Get rid of him. Tarrio says, I'm going to go pick up Nordine in 2 hours from the feds. He's keeping his phone away, but we need to remove him. And then they remove him from the chat. And Agent FBI Peter, can you tell us what you did with Nordine's phone? He says, yeah, we took that. We seized the phone. We did extract all of the data from the device. There were some selfie videos recovered, and I can't tell if they were originally attached to telegrams or whatever. They're in the phone. They're just called orphan files. The defense, Jaraguay, who's representing Tarrio's, objection. Judge, he can't comment on any of this stuff. Orphan files, telegrams attached, whatever. He can't comment on any of this. He's not even an expert. Judge says, sidebar. So the judge says, well, he knows enough so he can talk about it. And so the prosecutor asks the questions. What does it mean, since you're kind of an expert? He says, well, an orphan file means we found it on the phone, but we couldn't link it to a specific chat. And they say, well, that's okay. Judge says, I don't care. You don't need a specific chat. I don't care where you got it. Does it make them look bad? Perfect. Play them. So they now play the 2 video files. These are the orphan files and aren't attached to anything, just randomly on the phone somewhere. Great. Hernandez objects and says, Judge, this is ridiculous. How about a limiting instruction? Can you just, what's the purpose of this video? They don't know where it came from. There's no evidence about who created it or how it got there. The other messages, we can at least say that they were communicating with each other, right? Did an FBI agent who also deleted evidence, presumably, also just shove it on the phone? You just play orphan videos? That's great. How about I just go on YouTube and I just download some of my orphan videos too? Was it communicated? How did it get there? So Hernandez, this is ridiculous. And the judge says, all right, Carmen, I'm so tired of you. Get on the phone. So then she gets on the phone and he probably laces into her and says, "Put your hand down again." And the judge says, "Play the videos because I'd love to see them." So the first video is played. The first orphan video magically from nowhere just appears on a phone. Play it. Okay, great. So he appears to be drunk in the video. Can't hear the rooms, but the last words are STFU. In court, Nordine is watching the video screen in front of him, or he's looking down, right? So they're all watching the videos that are coming out in front of him. There's another video, 1776 B word. And that's how the prosecutor ends it. They play another video. Prosecutor says, "I'm done." Right? So that's the end of the direct examination from the government. Now we're going to get some defense attorneys who are coming in hot to cross-examine FBI agent Peter. And the first person up is going to be Nicholas Smith. Don't have a photograph for him, but I do believe he is related to David Smith, who is a New York criminal defense attorney with some serious background. He's also a lawyer for Ethan Nordine. It looks like they are up to cross-examine FBI agent Peter. Defense attorney Smith starts. "All right, agent. We're talking about this last clip that we just played. You said something like, Mr. Nordine is very intoxicated. Is that right?" "Yeah." "And you also said that he stormed the Capitol." "Yeah." "And he used the phrase 1776, didn't he?" "Yes." "Do you know how many protesters used those phrases, FBI Peter?" "No, I don't know." "Have more than 100 people claimed to have stormed the Capitol?" "Maybe." He says, "Oh, probably." And again, FBI, 1776, it was often used by protesters at January 6th. A lot of people said that. Yeah, they did use it. It was kind of a catchphrase maybe by supporters and protesters. He said, "Yeah, well, it was often used in the chats." So was that phrase, was this showing pre-planning or an attempt to humiliate the defendant? Objection sustained. Okay. So yeah, that's a spicy question there. So he's saying, so was this showing pre-planning that they used this phrase, or was it just an attempt to humiliate him by playing the video, right? A very intoxicated Mr. Nordine. So I'm guessing the video was very bad, right? He was probably very drunk and slurring and, not looking good. And so the defense attorney was very pissed about that. That's why he let him have it there. He knew he was going to get an objection, but he just said, "Yeah, so we know what you did." And he wanted the jurors to hear that. "You're just trying to humiliate my client, you piece of," and then objection sustained, but he got what he wanted to get out of there, saying that, that's embarrassing and you shouldn't, it's not to prove a point, it's to be cruel and mean to somebody, which is, what the government's very good at doing. So objection sustained. What was the purpose of showing the last video? Objection sustained, sidebar. He can't dig into that, right? He's not going to get into that. So Mr. Nordine, Smith comes back. He says, "All right, Mr. Nordine, my client, his phone was off during January 6th. Is that right?" "Yeah." "Is it meaningless to ask about his failure to object to discussions if his phone was off?" Objection calls for speculation. Sustained. "So how would Nordine express disapproval in the chats if his phone was off?" "Well, he'd have an opportunity once his phone was turned back on." But his phone wasn't on, not during that time or something like that. So then Smith pivots. He says, "All right, now about this Parler post. This one that you said involved the altered photo of the officer spraying the protester in the face. Now, on the direct exam, the prosecutor said that they acknowledged that they couldn't prove that Nordine was the one who altered the image. This was a point of contention yesterday. They were saying that the Proud Boys altered the image because they wanted to rally people up against the cops. It looks like the prosecution sort of dropped that angle, and they're just saying, yeah, it's just a meme. The agent says, "Well, yeah, I saw that photo that Nordine posted, and then I hopped on the internet and I ran some searches. When I did that, I first found the original AFP image, but then I found a few of the altered image. So then Smith did the same search. He says, oh, like this Google image search. Smith types in get a job that makes you happy. Then there's a site called 9gag, and it has the image that Nordine used. And 11,000 people have liked that image. Oh, so it is a meme. Smith calls, you mean like this meme that people were spreading around? Now Smith is clicking around on his computer. He says, wow, 11,000 people over there. Now, you guys said that this was an insurrectionist trying to rally other insurrectionists using fake propaganda that was anti-police, but it was just a meme, you stupid idiots. So now Smith is clicking on an identical version of the meme on Reddit. Ever heard of that website? It has nearly 2,000 likes. Okay, so it looks like maybe Nordine didn't craft that with his insurrectionary Photoshop skills, right? So they turn back over to the post on January 8th. Mulrow objects for whatever reason. Now, when you testified that the Proud Boys use misinformation, you said that, didn't you? Yeah, they do. How does that relate to this photo? What's the link between misinfo and the use of this meme? Objection sustained. We don't know what the objection was or what the ruling was, but Smith begins to argue with the ruling. He says, what are you talking about, Judge? I can't ask that question. Judge begins to pick up the sidebar phone, but Smith just says, forget about it, I'll move on. Now Mulrow wants a sidebar. Mulrow doesn't want his cross-examination to be interrupted with a sidebar, so he says, forget about it, I'll just forget that question and move on to the next one. But then the prosecutor wants a question. So they hop on the sidebar. So the defense then says, all right, now I want to draw your attention to this exhibit here, FBI agent. It says here on January 11th, this phrase that you read to us saying, I might get arrested when I land, but I regret nothing. You read that, right? Yeah. And agent, the government had already begun arresting hundreds of protesters, right? At that time? Well, I don't believe hundreds had been arrested yet. Well, they'd begun a process, hadn't they? Yeah. And were all those protesters arrested for conspiracy? Objection sustained. Could people have been arrested for any number of things, including trespass on January 6th? Yes. So doesn't that prove that Nordine doesn't prove that Nordine planned what happened on J6, does it? Objection sustained. Now, I want to draw your attention back over to this government exhibit. This is from the chat called the Pickleback Crew. It says, F Trump, F him more than Biden. You remember that chat? Yeah, I do. And it said that then he said, now I'm facing jail time. And he says, well, that jail time could have been from anything, right? He could have gotten in trouble on January 15th at a bar at another location, not on January 6th. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with J6, right? He could face arrest for any other type of crime, right? Yeah, that's right. All right, now let's go over to this other exhibit. This is the other chat. John Stewart says, I don't think there really was a plan. I know I had no input if there was. And so the defense attorney is saying, well, you know John Stewart, right? Was he a part of the Proud Boys? Yeah. Was he a part of the Ministry of Self-Defense chat with the other Proud Boys? Yeah. Was he a part of the ops team for January 6th? Yeah. And he said, I don't think there was really a plan. And what did the next line say from Bertino? He said that there was definitely not enough planning for this rally. That's interesting. Not enough planning. Any reason to believe that he was insincere, FBI Peter? No. And when he says this rally, what's he referring to? Well, I'd take it to mean the riot at the Capitol. He was a leader involved in the discussions after all. So then if he was a leader, then he should have known about the planning, right? All this planning you said that took place. If he was a leader. Well, and he says, well, based on what I know, he was involved in the planning. Okay, well, there's another entry here in this chat. You see this one here from Stewart. You said that it said, you know, the normies stopped 25% of the way. The building should still be occupied. We can infer that occupying the building then was not a part of the plan, right? If they say next time The building should still be occupied, and we did it bad this time, and next time we'll do it better. Then next time that means that we'll take over the building, right? So we can infer this time it wasn't part of the plan. Agent says, well, no. I mean, based on my review, he's saying that once the normies got into the building, there was no plan about how to go the rest of the way. But Agent Stewart just said, I don't think there ever was a plan. So now the same individual is now saying the normies stopped halfway in. One might infer that the things he's referring to are not part of the plan, right? One might infer that, right, Agent? I mean, how can you be wrong about that? He says, I can't make an inference from that. I don't know. And even when Tario, he used the term 1776. You think that's a code word? Well, I can't infer anything from that. Is it any kind of a code word? No. Does it mean anything? He says, well, I think 1776 is often invoked in chats with revolutionary, insurrectionary connotations. Okay, FBI Peter. Well, now I want to turn our attention over to the 17th of January. There's another chat. Rufio is saying, I'm not saying we need to gear up and go to war, but the Heaths in this club will never call the shots. Our lives are being destroyed due to inaction. And also, that a standby order for 2 weeks would be okay. Objection, sidebar, and we're done. Don't think we have a good exit. Objection, sidebar, and Nordine's done for now. Might come back later, but we switch gears. So now Norm Pattis is up. Remember, Norm Pattis is representing Joe Biggs. These are these two here. So Joe Biggs is the defendant. Norm Pattis, national lawyer. You may remember him from the Alex Jones trial. He is now up cross-examining FBI agent Peter. He replays the clip of 1776. Of 1776 B word. He says, hey, FBI, that's an intoxicated utterance, right? He's drunk, right? Yeah. And he's talking about metaphors, right? He's saying that 1776 is kind of a rhetorical device. He says, have you ever heard the phrase FBI agent, the phrase that the answer to 1984 is 1776? You ever hear that? God, I'm not sure. I don't think I have. Well, it comes from George Orwell and so on. And 1776 is a reference to the early era of American and the American Revolution, and 1776 is going to turn over the 1984, which is the George Orwell dystopian state. And he's going into this lovely prose. And he's now talking about the phrases that these are times that try men's souls, from Thomas Paine. And Mulrose's objecting, this is irrelevant, Judge. Judge says, okay, yeah, you're right. Let's get to something relevant. Thanks for the history lesson. Says, let me read you another part from Paine. He's going back to read Thomas Paine. And objection, sustained. All right, now you can't read any more Paine. Keep going. All right, well, now I want to show you a clip from Biggs's Civil War podcast. In this clip, he says, Biggs is talking about the country sinking into tyranny. Is that right, FBI agent? He says, no, I took that to be a reference to the adversaries of the U.S., thinking we were weak. Well, let me play a little bit more of that again. And there's a reference to taxation without representation, objection sustained. Play more of the clip. Pattis says, okay, so FBI. So law enforcement knew it was in their interest to let those people in. He didn't say us, right? Yeah, that's right. To let those people in. He didn't say us, those people. So he's talking about other people, not us. And we both agree that's ugly language, don't we, FBI agent? Yeah. But ugly language isn't a crime, right? Objection sustained. Pattis continues. He says, all right, FBI. Now, in January 2021, a lot of people were angry about the election. You're telling me. Thought that the election had problems. The president was urging people to march the Capitol. He said something like, fight like hell. Is that all true? Yeah, that's right. He said something like, if they didn't, they wouldn't have a country anymore. That was the commander in chief, right? Yeah. That was the top guy in the country. Yeah. Donald Trump, right? Yeah. I want to play a little bit more of this podcast. Podcast keeps playing. The defense turns over to the FBI. Peter, how do you think that King George reacted to the Boston Tea Party? Prosecutor says, objection, judge. This is ridiculous. I asked for an admonition. Okay. You told him to stop with the history lessons, stop talking about the Boston Tea Party and the American Revolution and American independence and all the Thomas Paine stuff. And the defense says, Judge, I don't need an admonition. I'm talking about this evidence right here. And the judge says, sidebar, that's it. Calls him up there or on the phone. And Roger says, I think Pattis had also asked, do you think he would have referred to them as terrorists? He says, we were talking about 1776 as a rhetorical device. Let's play the podcast. He says, did Mr. Biggs just say that behind every blade of grass is a Trump supporter? Did he just say that? Yeah. And now here's another clip. He says, okay, agent, our founding fathers, according to my client Biggs, they were considered terrorists too. Were the Boston Tea Party patriots considered terrorists? He says, well, I have no info about that. I don't know. He didn't have any history lessons about the Boston Tea Party. Pattis says, the deplorables. You're familiar with that concept, right? That's a concept that Hillary Clinton introduced for Trump supporters. You've heard about that. Yeah. We're going to keep playing some more of this podcast. Podcast is playing. Now, when he said something sparked that, do you know what he meant? Something sparked that? What was he talking about? I think he meant the riot, the beginning of the riot on J6. But he didn't say anything like we started the riot, did he? No, that's correct. We can sit here and point fingers, he said, right? Yeah. And he says that you're not as untouchable as you think you are. Is he referring to Nancy Pelosi and members of the government? I think so. Seems like he is. Now let's go over to this Parler post. You see Zachary Real on here. He said this, when the government fears people, that's freedom. Where people fear the government, that's tyranny. Nice quote. That's a Thomas Jefferson quote, isn't it? Yes, it is. Huh. So now we're resuming the Biggs's Civil War podcast. And I like this. This is, I think, very effective, right? They took all of these very scary phrases that are very insurrectionary and they said, that's the Boston Tea Party. That's the founding fathers. That's our founding document that we're referencing here. This is Thomas Jefferson. He said stuff like this. Now they keep playing the podcast. So Biggs just said that he's not advocating war. Did you hear him say that? Yeah, I think that was the gentleman on the left. No, he didn't say that. It was the other guy. We don't know what happened, but he says the president was saying there was a problem. Objection sustained. Move on to another chat. He said that in the main telegram, they say that if we go full 1776, people are going to die. And there's another one that said that Enrique Tarrio never got the documents. He picks this exhibit back up to clarify the dates. He says, you see what date this came in on? 12/30/2020, days before January 6th. You see all that? And what does this say here in this Skull and Bones chat? What did Zachary Real say here? F. Trump. So the defense says, wait a minute. Are you saying that the Proud Boys felt betrayed by Trump? Defense says, yeah, Trump talked a mean game, but he left them at the altar to pay the bills. Wow. Saying Trump just left them. They got orders from the commander in chief and he just left them. It's not even paying their bills. Not even talking about him. Just forgotten them. And they disavowed him. And so, Agent, you heard Trump in his speech saying that there's never an excuse for violence. And then you heard Nordine saying, yech, reflecting an attitude of disregard for the law. Is that true? Yeah. just like a similar disregard for the King's Law, like in 1776. Objection sustained. Now, these individuals, Agent, did they believe in Thomas Paine's rhetoric? I don't know. Pattis starts quoting Thomas Paine. Liberty and liberty and liberty and Judge H. Sir, evidence in this case, please. So then they turn their attention over to a Parler post. Somebody said some dummy thinks that this wasn't a historical day. It all started with USA Chance. Seriously, stop being an idiot. Now they're playing another video of a breach. Defense says, okay, FBI agent, do you have any evidence that any of these defendants gained financially from January 6th? No. Pattis starts quoting Thomas Paine again. Liberty, liberty. Judge cuts him off again. He says, okay, well, if I can't talk about Thomas Paine, do you follow any athletic teams? No, I don't. You ever cheered at an athletic event? Yes. It's probably a hard thing for an FBI agent to admit. Ever heard people outside claim we did it, though they didn't play the game? Yes. We won. We did it. Did you step foot on the field? No. Pattis says, exactly what I thought. Pattis is done. He sits back down. The judge says, all right, gosh, a lot of Thomas Paine here. Holy moly. It's nice education here. He says, all right, everybody, it's lunch break. Ladies and gentlemen, don't talk about the case. Go have your lunch. I'll see you back here at 1:30. So the prosecutor, after the jury leaves, Knierson, he says, Judge, I think we have an issue here. We are going to be objecting to this evidentiary issue. It sounds like the defense attorney's trying to get something admitted, a hearsay, some hearsay admitted under an exception called an excited utterance. They're debating about that. Carmen Hernandez is up. She's asking about limiting instructions. She's like, Judge, I've had my hand up for like 6 hours now. Can you call on me? He says, fine. All right, fine. So the judge says, all right, look, I'll give one a limiting instruction about Biggs and Nordine's videos. These videos are only useful and only purposeful for this purpose. He says they're being admitted into evidence, here it is, for their state of minds, but not for any other defendant's state of mind. Okay, so you can watch these videos, but only for that one defendant. You can't presume and extrapolate a conspiracy out of that from there. So we take a break. We are there at 1:45. We break at come back at 1:45, and we fast forward right through it due to the power of Twitter. Roger Parloff continues. And again, make sure you're following him at @Parloff. This is a ton of work that goes into tweeting this all day. And we're grateful that he's allowing us to share this grateful that he's sharing this with us, I guess is the best way to say it. So Judge Kelly is back on the bench. Now he's reading the instructions that he plans to give about the podcast and about the videos, especially those drunken videos. He says, basically, they're about those defendant states of minds. You can't use it for anything else. Judge says, I want to see if we can have the jury go an extra hour tomorrow from 1:30 to 2:30. So maybe they're doing a half day tomorrow. Prosecutor says, no problem. I'm available. We only have one witness left. It's going to be very short. That might help them finish. Roots and Metcalf said, sorry, Judge, we can't be here tomorrow at that time. We already committed to other things. They're busy, right? It's Friday. Tomorrow's Friday, man. So judge now ruling on the exhibit wants to put in. Judge is going to let it in. So the defense gets a win there. Something they wanted in is coming in, which is good. So the defense attorney, Hassan, says Jaraguay is leaving on a 2 p.m. flight. Judge says, well, he might need to change that. Sorry, defense attorney, you're sticking around. Attorney Mulrow talking about a 6-page exhibit that Hernandez wants to use. Prosecutor says it's a document between Rail and Danny Mack, who might be an informant. You're kidding me. Another informant? Wow. So another one. And it contains hearsay about how many informants are allegedly within the Proud Boys and how much they're paid and so on. Mulrow asks Hernandez for more information about this. So the prosecutor is asking Carmen about this. And Carmen, Miss Hernandez, the defense attorney representing Real, she did a great job on this some time ago, last week, I believe. Maybe it was earlier this week, where she brought out the binder and she gave it to FBI agent Nicole. And she said, "Do you recognize any of these confidential human sources in the crowd?" And the binder was so big, according to Roger, she was just flipping through it. "No, I don't know this guy. No, I don't know this guy. No, I don't know this guy." All confidential human sources, all embedded with the Proud Boys, like a big list of them. So Miss Hernandez wants to use that during her cross. She wants to beat this guy up, Mr. FBI Peter, about this. Prosecutor says, well, it's got hearsay in it, and it's also got information about how many informants are in there. Prosecutor wants to know where Hernandez got this, or how, or what it contains. And the judge says, okay, Carmen, Miss Hernandez, why aren't you not talking to them about it? He's got questions for you. And why are you not telling him about your evidence? Hernandez, what are you talking about? You want me to cooperate with him? These friggin' people? I don't need to tell him my strategy. This is my work product. And if I want to cross-examine him with evidence, I can do it. Goes into this. And so the judge says, all right, you listen, Carmen, I'm not going to allow you to do this. We've been around and around and around this. If you want to do something in the confidential human source land, I want it fronted with me so I can rule on it ahead of time. Doesn't want any of that stuff to be discussed, as we've talked about, because it is damaging and devastating to the government's case. If all of the Proud Boys were infiltrated by feds, CHSs, we know many of them were. Enrique Tarrio was picked up by one of them. Lizardo Hernandez responds, says, Judge, Mulrow does not even object to some of this stuff. You're keeping it out and the prosecutor doesn't even object to this? Are you crazy? The judge says, okay, well, if they don't object, then that part's fine. But if they do, then it's out. Hernandez is still arguing the point. We don't know what ultimately happens. They're bringing in the jury. Great. So then Smith is going to resume his cross to introduce that exhibit, the guy we heard from previously, the first defense attorney. He's back up. And he says, look, judge says, if it's not talking about CHS equities, that's a separate matter. I'll take it up as we go forward. And even Roger, he's sitting there watching it. He's like, so now I'm not even sure where we are on that document. Good, because we don't know either. I had no idea. Now, Pattis now wants to reopen his cross because he thought Hernandez would be bringing in the Mac issue. Judge says, nope, sorry, Pattis, you're done. But Hernandez can start going down the road with the document. We'll see how far she gets. So they settle those issues. Jury comes back in. They get started. Nick Smith is back up for Nordine. He returns over to Agent Dubrowski, FBI Peter, ask a few questions about a new exhibit that the judge said just can't come in. So that's this document. So Smith is asking him, he says, can you tell me when this was published? Yeah, that was January 20th, 2021. And this is an earlier segment from a previous thread, right? It's two messages just above it. Yeah. And what did they say in this chat? Well, Rufio said, everyone just needs to shut the F up. And he also said there's way too many videos and pictures and words being shared. Captain Trump said, yeah, exactly. And Jeremy Noblebeard said, yes. So Real, apparently in another part of the message, says this FBI affidavit against Biggs is a steaming pile of dog doo-doo. It tries to make it sound like the Capitol attack was planned. This affidavit. They indicted Biggs and Rail is reading it. This is ridiculous. They make it sound like we were staging a planned Capitol attack, says Real. This is back on January 20th. Like, we didn't plan anything. Nordine says, WTF? What? What the frick? We didn't plan anything. Defense says, what kind of affidavit are they talking about? Objection sustained. Would it be public? I assume. Smith is done. What kind of affidavit are we talking about? It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to know what these objections are. So anyways, okay, so Smith is done. That's the first attorney who was representing Nordine, and they got in this document that they tried to make it sound like a Capitol attack. Now, a prosecutor is going to respond to that and say they posted that on the 20th after they knew that a bunch of people were under investigation from the 6th. And so they're going to say it's a bunch of trying to fix it after the fact, No, I had no idea I was going to attack the Capitol, and try to talk themselves out of it, so to speak. So then Carmen Hernandez, shout out to Carmen. She is now up starting her cross-examination. She returns back to the 1776 document. She says, I'd like to draw your attention back to this. Prosecutors right out of the gates. Boom. She turns to the 1776 returns document. Prosecutors out of the gate. Objection. Sidebar. Judge calls them up. Carmen goes back. Okay, FBI Peter. Now, the document appears to be a plan for occupying Senate office buildings, right? Yeah. But not the Capitol building itself. Is that true? Correct. And so now I want to show you the different targeted buildings. She's pulling open the document. Objection, scope, cumulative, waste of time, sustained on scope. It's too far outside of the original direct exam, right? They're saying they didn't get into that when he was being examined by the government, so she can't get into it either. Did you do any investigations onto whether these buildings were occupied on January 6th? Did they raid those buildings that were a part of the plan? Oh, they didn't? That wasn't the focus of my investigation. Okay, so they circled a bunch of other things that they were going to raid. The Capitol building was not in that list. But you're saying the document is applicable to the raid of the Capitol, but they didn't raid, they just swapped the targets out in the same document? That's weird. Well, it wasn't the focus of my investigation. Well, did you see any discussion of carrying out this plan in the Telegram chats? Did they say, we can't wait to execute 1776? You say that in there? No. Any evidence that this document was sent to Real? As I said the last time I was here, no. Wow, Peter's a little snippy today. Very agitated. These FBI agents, they don't like to be questioned by a defense attorney. They're very sensitive. They pretend like they're big and tough and very smart and sophisticated in all these stupid shows. You watch all these FBI agents. I've seen some of them. Give me a break. First of all, they're not that good looking, most of them. They're not that fit. Look at them. And they're not that intelligent, and they don't really solve any problems. All right. You can tell them I said that. So here, this is where he's getting very agitated. As I said last time I was here. No. All right. Take it easy, Peter. We're almost done. So Carmen now is referring to texts between Real and persons not charged in this case. There's a group text that goes out. Damon laughed, right? He laughed at this idea that we all got maced and cops paid for that mistake. Now, I want to show you this other group thread from Real. You know whether any of them in this chat are Proud Boys? You know anything about that? No. Anything that could refresh your recollection? FBI Peter? No. You don't see them on any other Telegram chats, though, right? Correct. And you referred earlier to the Elders chat, right? These are the National Proud Boy leaders, a chat group called Skull and Bones. And Zachary Real's not a part of that group, is he? Correct. And they set that policy? He says, well, I'm not sure I can say that. They discuss chapter autonomy within limits, individual chapters govern themselves, and so on. Now, FBI Peter, a number of these chats came out in the early mornings. Is that true? Yeah. And some of these might have been fueled by obviously having been overserved liquor. We saw videos of them drunk. He says, well, the chats are the chats. Would those after midnight chats tend to be more aggressive and the F language in them? Well, I can't make that generalization. I just read them. Now, there was another chat between 3 members and Real. Do you know if the other 3 members in this chat were at J6? I don't know. I would need to consult with my notes. And what did this say here from Zachary Real? It said something like, I'm proud as F of what we accomplished yesterday, but then we need to start planning for a Biden presidency. Did you see that? You read that to us earlier, didn't you? Yeah. And so what you're saying to me, it sounds like, is that Real on January 7th, just the one day after that, accepted the Biden presidency, didn't he? And he said, well, it appears like he did. Yeah. And there aren't that many times when members actually mention Biden being president. Like, this is not a common thing, right? Yeah, that's fair. So it's significant that one day after J6 that Real is acknowledging Biden's presidency, right? Yeah, I agree. That's what he's doing here. And there were a lot of people there on J6. Yeah. And we've seen a lot of them from a bird's eye view, haven't we? Objection, sustained, whatever reason. If you were on the ground on January 6th, could it be that depending on where you were, your vantage point, you might not have seen everything going on? Objection, calls for speculation, sustained. Did you review messages where Real appeared to not be anywhere? Be aware that the person who broke the windows was not a Proud Boy? He says, I recall chats immediately around the events where people were trying to answer that question, but again, I'd need to see the chat. She says, perfect. I've got it right here. Let's pull it up. It says here, Stewart says, saw a pic of one of our guys inside the Capitol. Nice. Bertino says, no, LOL. Did not see a video of anyone I know smashing windows. Nah, it was just some pissed off normies. Donahoe says, definitely one of our guys. So Carmen says, so it appears then, FBI Peter, that Real didn't realize it was a Proud Boy who smashed the window, right? He said, nah, it was just pissed off normies. So not them. He says, yeah, that's what it appears like. The media room screen is flickering so badly, it's very hard to see again. Our antiquated federal courts have a loose VGA cable that they need to screw back in there. Can somebody get them some HDMI capable equipment, please? So Roger says, all right, now we're showing some of these Parler posts. Did this post happen before 1 p.m.? Yeah. And when is this happening? Is Congress still in session? Objection sustained. Apparently, there's a graphic video. Real is very close to the action. So Carmen says, all right, FBI. So it all started with USA Chance. And that appears to be accurate. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. He says, yeah, there were definitely USA Chance. And there were some Telegram messages that involved Real's voice. Yeah, there were some. And last time you were here, you testified about confidential human sources, right? Yeah. About how the FBI uses them. Yeah. And about how they get paid. Yeah. And so I want to ask you about one confidential human source who has certain conversations with Rail on his iPhone. Objection sustained. Why can't we hear about that? Hernandez says, you were asked about a confidential human source from the New Jersey Proud Boys. So it's probably a foundation question. Yes. Danny Mac? I thought we were referring to someone else. You thought we were referring to Kenny from Long Island. Yeah. I want to show you this extraction report from a cell phone. Where did this come from? That came from Real's device. I'd like to move this into evidence. Objection relevant sidebar. Redactions are made, crossed out some names, gets it admitted. Allowed. 2 recipients in the report covering dates from July 4th to February 17th, 2021. Okay, agent. Now, you're looking at a few pages of text between Zachary Real, my client, and Mac. Is that true? Yes. Are you familiar with Mac being a Proud Boy? He says, well, actually, no, I'm not. Why don't you take a look at page 5 of the report? Does Mac indicate that he's the one who, objection sustained, rephrased, any info that allows you to state whether Mac is a CHS and is being paid by the FBI? Boom, objection sustained. Arguing over the ruling, but Hernandez is too far away from the mic. We can't hear anything. Bummer. FBI agent Peter, do you have any info that allows you to state whether Mac is a CHS and is being paid by the FBI? Boom. Have you reviewed some confidential human source reports? Yeah, fewer than about a dozen. And how did it come about that that was relevant to your testimony? Objection sustained, scope and relevance. And was that part of your general preparation for your testimony? Objection sustained. FBI Peter, you had a lot of info, and that's why you were asked to testify? Objection sustained. What you reviewed before you testified was Telegram and Parler messages. Is that true? Yeah. Did you review reports from any other agents involved in this case? Yeah. Like FBI agent Nicole? Yeah, some of her interviews. Did you review text messages between you and other agents? No. Did you review transcripts from the J6 congressional illegally constituted fake illegal select committee congressional garbage loser hearings? Objection overruled. Did you review the transcripts? No. How many CHS reports did you review? Less than a dozen for two people. Less than a dozen. And were those for the Proud Boys? Objection sustained. They're not getting into any of the CHS stuff. Did you decide to review yourself or did the prosecutor ask you to do that? Objection sustained. FBI Peter, have you testified before today? Just the first time I testified here. Last week, a bunch of new FBI agents. FBI agent Nicole was on probation. We started this case. They put all the new guys on here. Probably because they'll just do whatever they say. So they don't know any better. So here, Hernandez says, was some list given to you to advise you what to review? They don't know any better. Just go find the Proud Boys. Okay, yes, sir. Yes, special agent. No, I wasn't given a list. It was a combination of wanting to feel like I was well read and, working with the government. No further questions. Hernandez is done. So they take a 10-minute break and we fast forward through it. Judge Kelly is back. Now, Sabino Jaraguay is up, and this is the attorney representing Enrique Tarrio. So we just finished with Carmen Hernandez for Zachary Real. We now have Sabino Jaraguay. This guy's got to get on an airplane tomorrow at 2 p.m. The judge said, sorry, buddy, you're going to stick around here. We'll see if they get to it or not tomorrow. But back over here, Sabino is up. He says, hey, FBI agent, the last time you were here, we found some pretty embarrassing errors in some of these exhibits, right? Some inconsistencies. Now, you didn't create these exhibits, did you? No. Now, do you think that the exhibits provide all the important context that the jury needs to make a decision in this case? Objection sustained. Are you one of the lead case agents in this case, Peter? Yeah, I'm one of 6. Did you do any phone extractions here? No. So you don't have expertise then to testify about why orphan files might be orphan files, do you? They just show up randomly on cell phones that are in FBI possessions. That's correct. The expert on that issue at the FBI, that would be Kate Kane, right? Yeah. I want to show you this document. It says that if you Philly dudes don't welcome me and the beard, we are going to burn it down in Minecraft. In Minecraft, where things can burn. Here is the long text exchange. So Jaraguay continues. He says, it's saying that there's an important message in the thread just before this one that's necessary to understanding meaning. So that's why they got to talk about all that stuff. So why are they going to burn down some specific case in Philly? He says, no, it doesn't appear to have anything to do with the Capitol. That has nothing to do, burn it down. It's Minecraft. The leaves catch fire. It's a big problem. So now referring to another exhibit. So Jaraguay says, all right, you also talked about this exhibit earlier, and you kind of just took this out of context, right? There's 2 messages missing from that exhibit, right? He says, yeah, that's true. He says that one message was they're going out to have charity events, and the other message was thanks. Is that true? You'd agree with that those are significant omissions. He says, no, not really, because of course not. So they deleted from this exchange, apparently. There were 2 other messages somewhere. Don't know exactly where. There is an important message in the thread just before this one. In order to understand this, you got to pick the other conversation out. And in the other conversation, they were talking about charity. They're going to go to charity events, man. And they deleted that. Probably after they got done deleting all the other 338 pieces of evidence from FBI Nicole. You'd agree that deleting their charity when you're showing their drunk videos doesn't seem very fair, right? No, not really. I don't think it's significant at all. Well, I want to ask you about these forwarded messages. Now, what does this say? He says, well, this one doesn't even show any forwarded messages. There's nothing here on the exhibit that says that. And he says, yeah, it does. One of them here is a forwarded messages. Now, here's another one. Here's another one that begins with something like effing disgusting. They're talking about Biggs being arrested. Is that true? I'm not sure. What about here? He says, here, yeah, there is a discussion here about Biggs being arrested earlier in the chat. Now, I want to ask you again about that premonition video, this video here, that said, was that video created by a reporter? A video by Amy Harris? Yes. So the Proud Boys didn't even make that. No. Jaraguay says he's going to show when this video was sent to Tario by Amy Harris. It was sent to Tario on 12/14/2020. Unless Amy Harris is a Proud Boy. But it sounds like she's a reporter, right? Now, Jaraguay was saying that's the intro to Tario's podcast. Was Tario at the Capitol, FBI agent Peter, on January 6th? No. No, he wasn't. He was in Baltimore. Was he there on January 7th? No, he wasn't. Did he ever return after his arrest? Well, that I don't know. Don't have any knowledge about that. Well, now I want to talk about this post January 6th discussion chat about whether they're talking about whether to ban the rallies, and they were saying, no, we shouldn't ban them. We should be strong and we should ban them. So, defense attorney is asking about the F-Dolls comment, saying that the Proud Boys are going to be effed by the government, sort of saying that's kind of what happened here, isn't it? Isn't Tario exactly right? I mean, he said that the Proud Boys are going to be blamed and be made the F-Dolls of the U.S. government. Kind of accurate, right? We're sitting here in court today. They are being made to be that with very little evidence of actual insurrection or seditious conspiracy, with all sorts of evidence of malfeasance from the government, making them the scapegoat of their political rage against their political adversaries. Agent says, no, I don't agree at all. They're not, they're getting justice. They're getting their time. So he says, well, Tario actually did criticize what happens on J6, didn't he? He said that Rail said that it started with a USA chant. What do you interpret that phrase, that silent majority is no longer silent, to mean? What do you think that means? What do you interpret silent majority to be? Objection sustained. Is it the Proud Boys? It might include them, but it doesn't mean tools, correct? What do you mean? He moves on. So now they go to another clip, the one where Stewart says, I don't ever think there even was a plan. Do you know how many Tario Telegram comms he had with Lieutenant Shane Lamond? Yes. And Tario's conversations continued during the period you talked about today. I don't know. Did Tario communicate with Shane on J6, J7, J8, etc.? I don't know. But Tario had 2 different Telegram chats with him. I would need to be refreshed. And text messages, same thing. And you reviewed multiple extractions from a number of people, right? Yeah. Did you review Shane Lamond's? No. Jeffrey Carroll's? No. Donahue's? No. This person? No. This person? No. This person? No. These are all law enforcement? Objection sustained. Wow. Wow. Are all of these people government informants? Law enforcement? Why didn't you look at Jeff Carroll's phone? Why didn't you look at John Donahue's phone? Why didn't you look at these 3 other people's phones? Or Shane Lamond's? Are these all law enforcement, knowing you're going to get an objection, saying it anyways, getting sustained, and moving on? They know that all these people are government informants. Okay, we may not know that officially because they can't admit it and they'll never admit it, but I'd guess that they're probably pretty close. If the defense attorneys are, they're referencing these people, all law enforcement, you don't drop that one out there unless you've got a pretty good hint. These are all law enforcement. Objection sustained. So, did you review any evidence to determine whether Lieutenant Shane Lamond passed up any info about Tario up the chain of command of law enforcement? No, that was another agent who was handling that. And who is the FBI agent handling the probe of it, of Lieutenant Shane Lamond, so I can subpoena him to testify? Objection sustained. Who is the FBI agent? Man, these defense attorneys are getting so railroaded. The defendants, honestly, it's the defenses, it's the Proud Boys cases, but the defense attorneys are trying, man, and they're just getting stuck. Who is the FBI agent handling the probe of Lieutenant Shane Lamond? I want to subpoena him to testify. We got questions for him. Objection sustained. Can't even talk about it. Definitely not going to get him to come in here. Don't even know who he is. They don't even know his name. Okay, so this is the defense attorney just trying to get some information out at this point. It feels like frustration to me. He's sitting there saying, maybe I can just get a name and go find somebody since he's on the stand. Jaraguay is trying to show a new exhibit. They call it up sidebar. They say, FBI agent Kenny Lizardo, he picked up my client on January 5th, right? That's the CHS. Confidential human source went and got Enrique Tario out of jail on January 5th. He got arrested on the 4th for some other unrelated crime. Now, you reviewed, here you go. Kenny Lizardo picked up my client on J5, correct? Objection sustained. And you reviewed the Telegram chats of Lizardo? Yeah. He was part of a number of chats. And Lizardo also had direct messages with Enrique, didn't he? Well, I can't say off the top of my head. I want to play this video here from Trump. Trump said that there's never a justification for violence. Didn't he say that? He said that we're a nation of laws. Those who engaged in attacks last week will be brought to justice. Would you agree with me that that's a disgusting speech? And there's 3 dots. He's like, what the heck? What? He told his prosecutors to march to the Capitol. If you don't fight, you won't have a country anymore. And they're he's just, what? The defense says, once Trump realized he's in trouble, he makes this disgusting statement, right? He's probably in Mar-a-Lago right now, right? Well, my client's on trial. Objection sustained. Trump's not even here. He's out there saying that we don't support violence. He's out there saying these things, and my clients are sitting in custody, rotting away in the DC jails. And he's in Mar-a-Lago. Now, the defense says, of new evidence of comms between Tario and people on the ground, don't you? He says, my recollection is that there are some contacts, but they are empty now. But that was Nicole Miller's subject. FBI agent Nicole and Jaraguay is done. So now we finish up. It looks like we have Metcalf, who's going to be closing us out for Dominic Pizzola. Defense attorney Stephen Allen Metcalf, New York Criminal Defense for Dominic Pizzola. Let's see where this conversation goes. Now, Metcalf begins. Cross-examination starts. Agent, can you tell me how Telegram works? If there's 100 messages that you haven't read, can you hit a button and go straight to the most recent messages? Can you do that? He says, yeah, I think so. And in fact, you can. How do I know that? Because here's our tremendous Telegram community. And you can join this tremendous community if you become a member at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, or if you become a member on YouTube. And see this button right here they're talking about? Shout out to James Cutbirth. Shout out to Dave. Shout out to Uncle Shane. But if I click this button, watch what happens. We're going to go all the way down to the bottom where we have here our friend Vientikis in the chat. So you can see how that works. Wow, very, very interesting. Demonstrative evidence here on the program. Says if you click it, you go straight to the most recent message, right? All the way down. Does it work? I think so. It does. We just tested it. So he says, you spoke today earlier, FBI agent, about the Skull and Bones chat, right? Yeah. My client Pizzola, he's not in any of those chats, is he? Correct. And those videos we saw today that you were spreading all over the place, Pizzola's not in any of those either, is he? Well, maybe in one, in a video of a certain breach. And Mr. Pozzola, he's not in Mr. Real's text, right? He's not communicating to him at all. And boom, he's done. That's it, pretty quick. So that is the defense, all communicating during cross-examination with FBI agent Peter, and they're done. So the prosecutors back up on redirect. Prosecutor says, all right, I just want to be clear about this, right, FBI, that all of your exhibits show Eastern times. And Mr. Smith asked a bunch of questions about a plan. He's asking you about a plan. Did they carry out the plan? Did they carry out this plan? He kept using that word, plan, plan, plan. Are these defendants charged with a seditious plan? He says no. They're charged with seditious conspiracy, obviously, which is a very giant, open, broad term. And you can be charged with that for throwing water bottles now. He says, Mulrow is trying to show exhibit from the evening of J6. Tario objects. Beyond the scope of the cross, sidebar. We come back. Now, he says, all right, FBI agent, there's this new chat here. You see Viking guy, he's in here. There's a BLM march. What does this say? It says, Bertino says, who cares? F it. We accomplished our mission today, even if they helped, LOL, because there's somebody else who was in and helped. Prosecutor pulls back up the premonition video. Says, when he posted this, was he doing a podcast? No. What word followed it? Premonition. Objection for outside the scope. Looks like that's a sidebar. Looks like it's sustained. So Mulrow then shows another exhibit. He moves on. FBI, what's this photo? Well, that's Tario. He's standing in front of the Capitol. He's got a lighter, and he seems to be holding it directly over the Capitol building. His T-shirt says, free the Proud Boys and by any means necessary. Now they're talking about the players who are celebrating after the victory and rebutting something that Pattis says here, now talking about players also celebrating after victory. Remember that analogy? You go to the game, you cheer for people, but you don't play and you say, we won all the time. He says, Mulrow is showing this video, which is Pozzola, to rebut that claim. And then says, but didn't also Zach say that we should have shown up with an army and we should have taken this back? Emphasizing that this is not just after midnight when they said they might be drunk. Okay, so this one was at 1:05. They weren't drinking then. You can't just blame the alcohol, can you? Here's another one from 12:26. FBI says, yeah, in this one, Tario is presenting MOSD to the elders for approval. And the prosecutor says, did General Washington ever go to war against Antifa? Objection sustained. So they're now talking about quoting Thomas Jefferson, Tyranny and Freedom. Are these individuals wearing redcoats? Is what this prosecutor is doing. Okay, so he's turning this into a, he's agreeing and amplifying with the analogy. So Norm Pattis came out and was saying, Thomas Paine, liberty, liberty, liberty. He's saying, are these people who are victims hiding in Congress, are they redcoats? No, they're not. Those are Congress people is what, So Mulrow is done. Now, that witness is done. So we finish up with FBI agent Peter as well. But the government is not done. Guess who is next? Prosecutor Nadia Moore calls what we suspect to be the government's final witness. 22nd person. His name is Mark Carrion, U.S. Capitol Police. 15.5 years, private first class with the House Division. Boom, sidebar. That's the background. Can you tell us what happened on January 6th, Mark. Capitol Police Mark. Capitol Police Mark, can you tell us what happened on January 6th? He says, sure, happy to. On January 6th, I reported to the Capitol, 8 a.m. for roll call. I was part of the civil disturbance unit, the CDU unit, the soft squad. I was dressed as I am today, as opposed to a hard squad when they're in riot gear, or what we call turtle gear. On the east side of the Capitol, there we were manning the perimeter behind the bike racks. The bike racks were set up because of the certification of the election. It's not usually there, but we just set it up there because of the extra people. Now, while out there, it was about 8:30. We responded to take assignments. I was kind of shocked such a large group was already present. There were two groups. There was one in the Senate egg, and there was another one in the House egg. And these eggs are ellipse-shaped grassy areas north and south of the Capitol. And so the group on the Senate egg was a pro-Trump group. On the House egg was a church group. Now, the pro-Trump group was lively, says this Capitol police officer, chanting, and once in a while they'd shake bike racks. But the church group was peaceful and low-key. Yeah, you don't hear much about them. Now, formally introducing some exhibits. So thank you, Capitol Police. I want to show you this document here. The defense is objection. Nope. Sidebar, judge calls him up. Now, Nadia Moore has not handled that many witnesses in this case. She's a very experienced prosecutor from Brooklyn, they say, assigned to help the overtaxed DC office. Give me a freaking break on this. Now, again, less than 1,000 cases for 2 years, everybody. 2 years. Just do the math on that. If a prosecutor can handle, let's say on a low end, 50 cases, because they're very dramatic about these being hard, divide 1,000 cases by 50 and divide that by 24. And that's how many cases you'll have to handle a month for a prosecutor. And if one prosecutor is supposed to handle, let's say 50 to 90 cases every year, why is this taking so long? Why are they so overtaxed for this small amount of cases? Over half of which have already been pled out, or close to half, right? It's getting close to half have already been closed. So that means there's about 500 or 600 open cases right now for the entire U.S. Department of Justice, and they're overtaxed for 500 or 600 cases. Give me a break. I get so tired of this stupid talking point. It's not overtaxed. There's 500 open cases. Or more. Now, I think they're investigating more. They're saying there's going to be another batch or whatever. It doesn't matter. There could be 5,000 cases, and it's still a joke because it's the entire U.S. Department of Justice. In Arizona, just for numbers, just so you're aware, we handle in the state of Arizona 40 to 50,000 felonies a year. 40 to 50,000 a year with Arizona. And one county, they have the entire U.S. Department of Justice. They can't handle 1,000 cases in 2 years, most of which are just simple trespassing cases. It's a joke. They're not overtaxed. They're just dramatic and incompetent. Roger says, we had 2 radio calls. This is the Capitol Hill Police again talking. He says, okay, so we had 2 radio calls that called out as bomb threats. Then which they'd never found that bomb threat person. They're a lot more concerned with an unwell person with a costume on rather than somebody trying to blow up the RNC and the DNC, whatever. That's the FBI for you. Then we heard the outer perimeter of the West Front had been breached. Hernandez asks for a sidebar. Judge, can we talk to you? No, I don't want to talk to you ever. Put your hand back down. All info we're receiving is from our radio, he says. And so when we heard that, we're trying to make sure that nothing happens on our end. And we couldn't go help the officers on the West Front because we'd be abandoning our duties on the east side. Prosecutor says, did you hear the radio messages relating to a lockdown of the building? Hernandez, objection. Judge, sidebar. Judge Kelly visibly rolled his eyes before granting a sidebar. You see that? Judge Kelly visibly rolled his eyes before granting a sidebar. So that's the kind of respect that we're getting for the defense team in this case. Judge Kelly, oh gosh. You're fighting for your clients again? Ah, gosh. What? Carmen, what? Will you leave us alone? I'm trying to convict your clients, please. So goes up. Carrion says, yes, Inspector Lloyd, so this is the Capitol Hill police officer, says, yes, Inspector Lloyd called for a lockdown of the building as soon as he heard of the breaches. Great. Police audio of that lockdown plays. They take a look at the video. The law library doors, the left side of the main east doors were closed. He says, I was centered in the plaza, more toward the memorial doors. Eventually, goes on, objection from Hernandez, overruled again. The bike racks were breached, he says. He continues. We got a call of a large group heading north around the Capitol. The group on the Senate egg saw that group coming around from the north side, and the groups joined together, and the bike rack started falling, getting kicked over, and then rushed towards the rotunda door. Ray Epps was right over there. Says, now showing video of the plaza. Hernandez objects again, overruled again. Rioters are rummaging through the things. Judge says, all right, we're going to stop right there. This seems like it's a good time to break. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Remember, you're excused for the day. Do not talk or discuss the case. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great night. So the judge says, all right, we're done for the day. And Roger Parloff had a hard stop today, and so he's out of there. And so shout out to Roger Parloff for carrying us through the entire trial. Day 38 from Roger Parloff. And boy, that was a spicy day. Holy moly, wasn't it? Oof. A lot of fiery testimony coming out from both sides. We heard from our prosecutor, Nadia Moore, who brought in the Capitol Hill police officer. We heard other prosecutors direct exam and then redirect the newest FBI agent, FBI Peter. We heard from all of the defense attorneys asking some very good questions. Judge Kelly shutting down the defense at basically every opportunity. Poor Carmen Hernandez can't even speak over there. She's sitting there with her hand up. Judge says, I don't even want to talk to you. Carmen, again, eye roll. Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. These defense attorneys, the worst. And so, my friends, that is it for the day. Now, we are going to come back tomorrow to do it all again. If you're not already subscribed and joining us, I hope that you do. We are going to jump in to all of your questions and your comments right after we talk about staying healthy and vibrant and well, courtesy of our friends over at fieldofgreens.com. And you can go there right now as we talk about what a great product it is, because we would all like to lose some of those extra leftover pandemic pounds, but we are all sick of the weight loss ads, the fad diet pills, so on and so forth. We've all been there. We've all done that, and they don't work. But you know what does? Eating 5 healthy servings of fruits and vegetables every day. You do that, the weight probably falls right off. But look, vegetables and fruits, who's got time to prepare that every day? I don't. That's why I have Field of Greens, baby. It is good. It's a science-backed formula of very specific fruits and vegetables that you're not going to find in any other product. We know that proper nutrition reboosts your metabolism so you can burn calories the faster way and lose weight healthier. Field of Greens is the only brand that's backed by a better health promise. You're going to look healthier. You're going to feel healthier, but the better proof is going to come when you go to your next doctor visit. And he says, wow, look at you. You've lost a ton of weight. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. We know what you're doing. You're eating your Field of Greens. And so you can go to fieldofgreens.com right now. Enter code Robert, save 15% off with your first order. There's all sorts of really good stuff in here. Antioxidant blends, metabolic blends. You've got, let's see here. You've got blueberries. You know how good blueberries are for you? All those antioxidants, it's all in here, in your Field of Greens. It's green, but there's blueberries in here too. And so check it out at fieldofgreens.com. And don't forget to use code Robert. The vegetables want to be eaten, and you'll be bursting with green energy. So check them out at fieldofgreens.com. All right, my friends. Now, let's see what you have to say. I saw some very, very generous super chats come in. I saw some great new members joining us, courtesy of some of our friends. We're on YouTube. We're going to check in with locals. We're going to say hello to Twitter and, of course, our Rumble friends. And so let's see who is in the house on this very beautiful day. We've got Zulu. What's up, Zulu? He says, hey, Curtis Bartle and Stephen Mosher pre-show membership gifts. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Zulu, for saying that. So shout out to Curtis Bartle and Stephen Mosher. We're getting some really good memberships. So our morning headlines chats, our morning member-only shows are getting filled with new members. And we're super grateful for that. So thank you to Zulu for flagging that for me. We missed it. Zulu just gifted 5 memberships. Jonathan C. Vicky's here. Lenny. We got Sean Wookie. Holy F, my S stinks is here. Says just became a member. And Freed became a member, all courtesy of our friend Zulu. Thank you very much, Zulu. And Curtis Bartle gifted a bunch of new people earlier before the show started. Stephen Mosher also did the same thing. Yeah, we're so grateful for you guys. Thank you for doing that. It really is awesome. I mean, we're actually seeing more activity from it, so it is paying off. And The theory is that you get gifted a membership and then you love the content so much. You go, wow, this is just amazing. This member only stuff is better than this show. And then you come and join us. And so thank you, Zulu. He says, these were gifts, not to be confused with gifts, which is similar when pronounced correctly. The community is 10 members stronger. Thank you, Zulu. 15 now, courtesy of you, my friend. Thank you very much for doing that. And I hope you guys join us. If you're joining on YouTube, don't forget to grab the Telegram link. Okay, go over to the community post section, get the Telegram link, because that's how you're going to get the after party, which is where we're going to go to right now. I mean, right after we check in with these super chats. So come check us out. Also, want to say shout out to Woods Precision Arms, baby. Good to see you, Woods Precision Arms. Says, being an awesome kick-ass defense attorney as you are, Mr. Robert, what can defendants do when the judge is so obtuse, obviously biased, and ignores the obvious FBI corruption? What can be done? It's a great question, Woods Precision Arms. And unfortunately, it's not a real easy answer. You know, I would love to say that you could just file a judicial complaint and then something would happen and the judge would say, yeah, I've been a bad boy, and make some corrections. But the judge is pretty well insulated. You know, he's not doing anything illegal. He does have discretion to make a lot of these decisions. I vehemently agree with them. I think that the way this is being run is grotesque, but it's his courtroom and he's lawfully allowed to do it. Now, that being said, right, his boss or the people who can sort of rein him in would be the Court of Appeals. So the DC Circuit Court of Appeals. Think they're going to do anything? I don't. But the other remedy is to really wait for a change in power. Honestly, you know, I don't know if there would ever be momentum for a pardon or something like that, like a blanket pardon, or another thing that could be done. You know, if the Republicans had any stones at all, although I don't really hear anybody talking all that much about the J6ers from the Republican side. So I don't know that this is a really good option either. But if the Republicans were to take charge, there was an argument from Newt Gingrich a long time ago where, remember when the Ninth Circuit was a real big problem in this country? They have sort of now been reformed and they don't have as many insane rulings anymore. But what Newt was proposing was you just divest the federal judiciary of the Ninth Circuit. Because Congress sets the jurisdiction of the courts. And so you just take the courts and you just say, okay, well, Congress is just eliminating the DC Circuit. It's gone via an act of Congress and a presidency. And so that doesn't necessarily change these guys' case. You know, these guys are being made the scapegoats, and legally, you know, I'm not sure what recourse there is for them other than going through it, accepting the penalty. They'll be very likely, you know, considered to be martyrs. They'll come out the other end of it, and we'll see what the country looks like on the other side. Many of them, I think, will be considered heroes, you know, for being so egregiously scapegoated for this insurrection fake hoax. It's, you know, it's not an insurrection. It never was an insurrection. Nobody's been charged with insurrection. It was a riot, and they are being made to be, you know, enemies of America for having participated in what they thought was a political process that many other people in this country have participated in and seen no consequences. Take a look at Antifa. Take a look at the BLM protests or riots. Take a look at the judges protesting around the houses outside of Kavanaugh's house when they were talking about abortion, right? Massive double standards. I'm okay with one standard being applied, even if I disagree with the standard. At least it's the same. But that's not what's happening here. And I think more will be revealed. I mean, Elon Musk is saying free Jacob Chansley, right? The hard work of people like Julie Kelly and others who've been on this stuff since day one, I think are waking people up. And I think that's very good news. So it doesn't bode well for these current defendants. You know, I feel badly for them and I feel bad for the attorneys here, but they are in a very difficult jurisdiction, as we have seen. And what I thought were going to be very big wins, these big explosions that came out. Wait a minute. They deleted how many thousands of rows? They said in their discovery, deleted evidence, delete this evidence, go in here and edit out that I was present with the confidential human source. All of these things, you go, that's the end of the case. That's like a defense attorney winning the lottery. And the judge said, no, oh, no. They said it was classified, so you don't need to look at it. Okay. Chris is here. Thanks for the sticker, Chris. Good night is in the house. Says Trump did a lot for Israel. Says Trump did more for Israeli spies than for the Patriots. Is in the chat from NZD in the house. Good to see you, NZD. Michael Allen Hughes says, free all of our political prisoners. Here on that. I agree with that completely. Curtis says, and thank you, Michael. Curtis says, why can't the media be inside the courtroom? It's just a federal rule, Curtis. They just don't allow you in. They don't let broadcast in. They don't. I wish they would. They just don't turn it on. So we got to read through the reports, courtesy of our friend Curtis. Roger, you're Curtis. Here's another one from Fred Petamonte. He says, Rob, Johnny said 9 p.m. Is he kidding? I have to go to sleep at 9 p.m. Sorry, Johnny. Says, tell Rob, I don't want to see that again. By the way, I got my Twitter back after sending them dozens of tweets far worse than mine. Shock. That's great. Well, first of all, Fred, that's great news that you and Johnny got your Twitter account back. You know, I was a little depressed for you. I know what it's like to have your account taken away for you, man. It's the worst. So I'm glad that you got it back. I apologize to Johnny. I mean, hopefully he doesn't send uranium over here, but we had a long day today. I was at the Genius Network event, so I'm a member of this group here in Arizona. I was there all day today, going to be there all day tomorrow. We'll see what the show looks like tomorrow because there's another, we might have to do Fridays. We might have to do tomorrow's show on Saturday. We'll see. I'll let you know because there is an after party event taking place tomorrow, which is a hike actually with somebody that you know here who's leading the hike, which I think I'm going to be doing. So we'll see. Anyways, the point is, sorry about that, Johnny. Please don't send anthrax and Ebola over to my house. We'll try to be on time moving forward. But that, my friends, is it for our friends on YouTube. Extremely grateful for you. Thank you for sending those all in. And thank you for sending new members our way as well. Want to say hello to our friends over on Rumble. We got Janex in the house. Baldo's over there. Says they don't have cameras in court because they know most people won't pay attention without it. Yeah, they like Ghislaine Maxwell. We could have had a trial. We could have seen all of that, right? Could you imagine if we could have seen that? They don't want that to happen at all. Janek says, and nothing ever happens. No charges. They're gonna get charged. No ifs, ands, or buts. I think probably talking about convictions. Yeah, I think that they'll probably be convicted. Baldo says, I'm looking forward to the release of all the J6 camera footage. 40,000 hours plus. I suspect 4chan is going to find all the government agents probably instantly. Which is what we've been saying. Just put that on Twitter, put it on 4chan. Let us get our hands on it. We'll be identifying these feds in no time. There's some really good Twitter users who'll probably find, like, that's Christopher Wray. I've just identified him. He's out there with the flagpole. Oh, So those are our friends over on Rumble. Very, very nice to see everybody over there. And what do we have over on our locals community? I see some very generous tips over there too. Mark Nielsen's on YouTube. We've got Mother of Doggos in the house. Catania Mama Italia's here. Good to see you, Catania Mama Italia. Who's over on the locals chat? We had a couple of very generous tips coming in. Zoji says, thank you, Rob. I support the FBI, the CDC, the FDA, CNN, and I'm so happy you do too. You hit them all. Those are my favorite things. It's like, it's hard for me to choose. When I go to Washington, D.C., and they're like, where would you like to go first? I'm like, gosh, I don't know. CDC building, FDA building, FBI building, CNN, where are they at? Good to see you, Zoji. Says, I have founded the Monastery of Truth in case you are interested. Did you found that with singing Nina Jankowicz? Is she the one who's helping you? Is she your co-founder over there? Jigum is here. Says, what's up, Jigum? Says, there are more of us than them. We are just quieter. Need to knock it off, get loud, and call out the nonsense. Wake the rest of the people out of their stupor. Hopefully before it's too late. Thank you for shining that big, beautiful spotlight. And here's my, I was like, what is this? Okay. Yes. Oh gosh. That was my face. Yeah, that's how I feel going over a lot of this stuff. That's hilarious. Thank you for doing that, Jigam. That's how I feel. Gosh, did my face really move like that, or did you add that in there? That's a very fun mover. Okay, thank you from Jigam Gigam, one of our meme smiths, modding down the memeing up the place for us. We got Common Free says Rob's courtroom rereads are my favorite. Good night, watchers. It was a little bit later over there for you guys on the East Coast. Late here, yeah, it's 8 o'clock over here. Thanks for being here, Com, and good to see you. Wims says just cause I needed to buy more coins. Thank you, Wims. Extremely generous of you, and I appreciate you sending that in. We love Wims. We got Seawolf says Jif is peanut butter, Rob. What did I say Jif or GIF? I don't know how I said it. GIF. It's interchangeable. Whenever I see Palmy No, it obviously turns into GIF. But all right, we're going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com here in one short minute. Let's see who is over on Twitter and say hello to our Twitter friends, and we'll check in with Telegram too for our Telegram friends. But who is in the house? Is anybody watching over here? Holy crap, we do. It's me. I'm watching myself. Gosh, I love it. It's the best. Here we had another couple comments. Here's this one. Says, keep up the great work, Rob. Best lives ever. It's great to have a lawyer acting out these texts. Text acting award. Yeah, just cover. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's like dramatic readings of live Twitter threads from court. It's a thing now, I think. So, yeah, that's like censoring the bad words on the, just block yourself. You know, that's how you censor yourself when we're going through these threads. Thank you to Donna for that one. Donna, and we have Rebecca John has this one. This is Joe Biden. We talked about the urination, the Russians urinating, the Russian PP tape urinating on our airplanes this morning on our members only stream. So if you wanted to check that out, certainly do. But all right, my friends. Well, that was it for us on the day. We did cover a lot of ground. We are going to go hang out for a little bit for our members only after party. If you'd like to join us, it's at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. So click on over there and join us. If you're a member on YouTube, you can join us, but just join in the Telegram, right? We're going to continue on. So if you're a YouTube member, get the Telegram link in the community post, join us because we're not done. And we'll look forward to seeing you there. Don't forget to check out my friends at fieldofgreens.com if you haven't gotten your Field of Greens already. You should, because the vegetables want to be eaten and you'll make them happy and you'll feel better too. You'll also want to shout out our friends at the R&R Law Group. Of course, I'm no longer there, but they're doing great work helping good people charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope, not only in their cases, but beyond that in their lives. 480-787-0394 is where you can find them online at rrlawaz.com. Ultra shout outs to our mods and our meme smiths, our friends Vienticus Prime, K Bean, Just Cause, Playing Hooky, Ronnie Cole's in the house. Thank you, Zulu, Geo, and Zach Nichols, along with John Allen, modding down the forts. Shout outs to our friends Sleepy Dog Lee, Paul Mino, and Jigam Gigam on Locals, who is the meme smith extraordinaire. That, my friends, is it for us on the day. We're going to leave it right there. We're going to go to our after party for a bit. I'd love it if you joined us, but if not, we may be back here tomorrow or we may be back here on Saturday. It depends. Probably going to be back here on Saturday, but we'll see. We will do a morning headline for members only tomorrow, but we'll see what the show looks like. If I don't see you tomorrow, I hope to see you back here on Saturday. Whenever, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Otherwise, my friends, I hope to see you here the next time so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Have a tremendous evening, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.